At 18 years old, I went to university because that's what most people do. At age 21, I finished my undergraduate degree and started a postgraduate degree. And at age 22, I started my third degree to become a doctor. And I'm about to start my final year of medical school, having turned 25 last week. But most students in my year are 21, so I'm technically 4 years behind. Not only that, but I don't have much money saved compared with people who started working at 21 or even at 18. So understandably, there have been points where I felt that I'm behind in life, but I've realized why this isn't a problem and how it's even a good thing. So I'll share some of the things I've learned to overcome feeling behind in life and how I've been able to work on myself to become the person I am today. And honestly, it's not as concise as my other videos, but the points link together to help you make a real change, so listen until the end. So the first thing might seem obvious, and it's understanding why we feel behind in life. But I've got some personal examples that's going to give you a different perspective. So let's go back to when you were born. Ever since you started walking and going to school, you were being compared to those around you because your grades at school were compared to other students, and the better students went to better universities, and in those universities, the better students got better jobs. And with social media, it's worse because you see thousands of people with successful and expensive lifestyles. And sometimes it's inspirational seeing people do really good, but it's hard not to compare yourself with what you did at your age versus what they did at the same age. And as students, you might even think about me that, oh, he's going to become a doctor and studies well at med school and somehow manages to do a bunch of other things. So it's not a surprise that on the surface it feels like you're behind, whether that's not having money or a good career or not getting the grades you want. But what helps to reduce the problems of comparing yourself and feeling behind in life is redefining success. So as I said, I'm technically 4 years behind most students in my year of med school, and actually I know some people in their 40s in med school. But in either case, it's not as if the years went by and we did nothing until now. For example, I learned a lot over my undergrad and postgraduate degrees before med school in terms of learning how to study effectively and how to improve my focus and time management. But in that time, I also learned a lot about self-improvement and business, and more about what I want to work towards in life. And so my definition of being successful or working towards success is having a continuous process of learning so that you're always making some progress. As long as you define success based on making progress, it becomes separate from what other people are doing, making success intrinsic so that it's tied to how you change over the months or years, and not extrinsic where it's dependent on money or status and how other people are doing. And it helps to remember that even if it might feel as though you made no progress on one thing, the effort you put in can impact something else in your life. For example, if you're able to go to the gym regularly or stick to a healthy diet, your discipline improves. And that same discipline can help you study for exams even when you don't want to, so that you get the grades you want. And I know that redefining success isn't going to magically make you feel better, so now I'll go through actionable changes so that you can start making progress and stop feeling behind in life. And this involves better understanding the intrinsic progress people make instead of focusing on the extrinsic things as you might have been doing. And there's two parts to this which I resonated with from Rudy's video on failure. So the first is something called the iceberg illusion. It's the idea that all you see of someone else is the success and results of the progress they've made, but you don't see the discipline they had, the sacrifices they made, and the time they put in to be successful. And I've experienced this firsthand. I remember when someone complimented my physique and they asked how often I go to the gym, but when I told them that I went 5 times a week, also play tennis weekly and have a very clean diet and doing this on top of med school and everything else, they were confused by how much effort it actually took. And even with YouTube, I had a comment where someone asked me to upload videos daily, and it made me realize some people don't know how much effort and time goes into these things. They just want the results. So what's the point I'm making here? The point is that a lot of people, which might include you, underestimate how much it takes to make progress, especially to make progress to get to where you want to be. Because if you're feeling behind in life, can you be honest with me and tell me that you're doing everything you can to get to where you want to be? Because I'm not trying to be rude and I want you to have success, but I'm confident that most of you aren't doing everything in your power to make as much progress as possible. And I can say this because I know that even I'm not doing as much as possible. I could do a lot more. So how can you do more? How can you start making more consistent progress in life? One of the best ways to do this is to use your unfair advantages and use the people you look up to as inspiration for this. The people you see on social media that make a lot of progress in life are using their unfair advantages, whether that's being attractive, having the right network to grow, or having money. Because as I've mentioned, it's also what they've developed within themselves. For example, I take inspiration from people in self-improvement and see what gives them the edge, what makes them stand out and make the progress they're making, and see if I have something similar that can help me too. And a common unfair advantage I noticed with myself and a few others was having ambition. For example, I grew up in a low income background in East London and I didn't have access to a lot of things that other medical students have. But that's what played a role in me having the ambition to aim high and the discipline to do things myself to focus on self-improvement and take advantage of the resources I do have. Anything can be an unfair advantage, and as you're watching this video, you have the advantage of being able to learn anything you want from the internet. So list the advantages you can think of to help you work towards your success. And now for the next point, there's generally an idea that achieving things and making progress when you're younger is always a good thing, but that's just not true. Just as an example, at med school, at least half of the students started playing an instrument at around 5 years old and got to the highest grade by the time they're a teenager. And compared to them, I started late at around 13 years old and I didn't get any lessons, I just taught myself. But who's still practicing these instruments after all these years? I know I am, but I also know that most of these people barely practice now after they got their certificates a decade ago. This point ties with the first point of the video that the age you start something doesn't matter because being late is relative. You starting late could be starting something that you continue to work on for decades to come, whilst other people make a lot of progress in a short amount of time but stagnate and give up soon after. It again reinforces the point of why comparing to others when it isn't for inspiration won't do you good, because they're at different paths to the one you'll take. So it doesn't matter when you start, it matters that you start. And now, towards the start of the video, I talked about how social media can make us feel behind in life. And we also know that using your phone excessively on these apps takes a lot of your time away, holding you back in life and slowing how much progress you make, which limits your success. So in this video here, I talk about how I dropped my screen time by over 90% within a day, so that I could get on with what I need to be doing. And you can do the same by watching the video.